Hi, how you doing? I'm Jeff Donaldson. I'm going to try to make you a little video of what I guess I would have been looking for, well, when I started with my tiny whoop obsession that I have right now, and with drones in general. I'm going to try to put all the information in one little kit for you, and this isn't about building it or anything else about that. It's just going to tell you about what the tiny whoop is, what's available for you, kind of where to get the stuff, and just the basics. So I'm going to call this the Tiny Whoop Basics. And I guess I'm going to start off by telling you that it all starts with a guy named Jesse Perkins, who I guess in Colorado where he lives, it gets cold up there and he needed something to do inside, but him and his team that he flies with, a Big Whoop, got together, and with that a lot of practice, they came up with what is the Tiny Whoop. The Tiny Whoop starts off as an inductress. It comes in a kit just like this right here. For anybody that's looking to have an indoor flying drone, which is, I had this before I knew anything about tiny whoops. I had seen it and was in a hobby shop, and he was flying it, and they recommended it and said it was probably one of the best little flyers inside. And it turned out to be just that. It was a really, really good flyer that I had inside the house and just had a lot of fun with. Hell, I think I had the thing for a month before I even realized it had an acro mode. But anyway, this is how it all starts. It starts out as this. And this particular kit, I believe, I don't think I found it for less than $69.99, but you might be able to find it cheaper, I'm not sure. But this is what it is, and when you get the kit, it comes with the particular thing here. Now, I'm not going to be able to actually show you this because I've turned all these into tiny whoops. But this particular kit will come with a very basic controller, the craft itself, and a 150 milliamp battery. Okay. Actually, I think it came with two of them. I think it came with two of them. That last in this configuration, you probably have. I wasn't measuring it back then, but I imagine 7, maybe even 8 minutes of fly time with the Inductress as a basic model that you see right here, which is a lot of fun to fly around the house. I only got this also when weather's bad and I needed something to fly. I got this. I started to fly, or was interested in drones by really the camera aspect, and I fly the Autel X-Star Premium, which is a wonderful piece of equipment. I just love this, but we're not talking about that. But anyway, so that's how it got me going, and I had that in the house, and one day looking through some videos, I ran across a tiny whoop. And thought that was really cool. I already had some goggles, and because I have a little racer that I was introduced to from my son, and he had a rodeo, the Wakira Rodeo, which is a fast little wonderful thing. So I got that and got myself some goggles, and I've had a lot of fun with that. But still looking for that inside. Now I'm hooked to the FPV part of the tiny whoop. I ran into the video of the tiny whoop, so I did some research on it and learned how to make it. And now I'll show you exactly what these tiny whoop products are, and how you carry on with the different modes and where you may go with it from there. I've seen a lot of things or questions on, and you can get your best information, I imagine, from Facebook by joining the group, Tiny Whoops, Pilots of the World. Jesse Perkins, you'll see his name quite a bit there. He's always on it. He's always looking. You're never going to get more information than you can get from that site alone. And people will be willing to help you. I've never met a group of people, and I belong to a few groups that it seems like really a brotherhood that they have going on Facebook over there, and the information that is shared or the help out of them is really kind of unbelievable. So join that, find that on Facebook, join that, you can find a lot more information. But now let me show you what happens after you have this Inductress. And once you get that, you also can get it as a single. I think that kit sold for $69, a single one. Once you have this cheaper controller, you don't need to get that kit anymore. You can just buy singles, which I did anyway, because once I found out it was acro mode, I had one that I was flying in the acro mode and one that I was flying as just so I didn't crash so much, because you get frustrated in the acro mode and it crashes and you can't keep it up in the air. So, and I want to fly, so I just pick up the other one. But once you get that, and I found out what the tiny whoop was, and this is the tiny whoop, and you make this through it. And I'm going to give a pitch to Tiny Whoop because that's who um, is the company that started it. So I do most of my business with them. I picked up a few things here and there, but most everything I get is through TinyWhoop.com. He probably has more fly time than I could even imagine anybody else could even come close for. So I imagine, as far as I'm concerned, what he says is really kind of God's word. So this is the Tiny Whoop, and you take the Inductress apart, and you need to put in motors into this that you will get with a kit from Tiny Whoop. And it comes with motors, and it comes with a little box like this. The camera is deframed, and the antenna is already on it. And it comes with this little stand that you put on top of it, and it just screws right in there. You put the motors in there, and it plugs into the back board on it. And you now have only one small thing to do is take a soldering iron, and you'll find out that you can get a soldering iron from Walmart for $8 or $9. That could do what you need it to do. It's not going to last very long, but it would do what you needed to do to make it. So you can get away with cheap there. Now being cheap, if anybody thinks that they see this Tiny Whoop and that this is a cheap thing, it's not. You're going to get addicted. It ends up being, it's going to cost you a few bucks. Now, isn't it expensive as racers that are flying these things that are costing $500 for a basic kit? And that's before they even start upgrading it. I guess it's cheaper than that to get yourself into something that's really fast. And I can't tell you how fun it is. It's just changed my life a little bit. So, being a construction worker up in Chicago, I hurt myself, fell down, and don't get around too well no more. So I needed something where I could sit down and put some goggles on my head and fly around, and it's really helped me out a lot. And you can see by this table, it's grown into having that little box to this in just a few months. So from this is what the Tiny Whoop is, and you've probably seen it. That's probably why you're looking for the Tiny Whoop, and you want to know a little more about it. So from this mode right here, you can do a couple different things with it. One of the things that people are doing that you've seen is the mullet mop, modification, where you've actually, instead of the two little solders you have to do here, now you have to take apart the camera. You cut it apart and add some wires to it to extend the pieces so that you can lay down the receiver part of this onto the back of the quadcopter and mount the camera to this little mount right here. Okay, and that's just another mod that you have to do. It would be 6 little solders that you got to do. I recommend if you're going to start doing any of that stuff right there, you need to also have yourself one of these little things right here. This will hold the board for you. That will give you 2 free hands to hold a soldering iron, touch it. It'll only take a second to touch it, and it'll heat it up. You pull the little pins out, and it works wonderful. Now, I've also taken these alligator clips and put a couple pieces of shrink tubing around them to even kind of protect the board from the alligator clips themselves. Take a lighter and put it on there, heated them up, and struck a couple layers on there, and that's working really good. So you'll need one of those to hold this stuff, give you extra free hand. And that's what you do here. Now, I didn't mount mine, this particular one here. It's not actually mounted to the board. I actually took and tried to get it all to fit into the top of the mullet itself, so I put it all into the top there. Put a couple dabs of hot glue on there, holds it all in real good. Seems to be working great. This one is tough. I'm crashing it full speed, smashed into the wall, trying to make turns and stuff like that. It's holding up really good. Now you'll find out that this particular one right here, as you fly it around and smash it up, you're going to bend these antennas. So if you're going to keep this, then you should get yourself a whole bunch of these like I do, and I have a bunch of extra antennas so that I can change it if it breaks. I'm not worried about replacing them. I don't think they're that expensive. I just put another one on. More soldering, but you'll get used to that real quick, and you'll find out that you need to buy something better, like the track power that I have over here now that works wonderful. But so that's the antenna part of those. Now there is a mod, and again, I'm not going into how you do it, but they take these Doppler antennas right here, and they can pull these things apart and put these on here, and these are much more sturdier. I'm not sure of the range and all that on these. I wasn't sold on that. I'm into these polarized antennas, and they seem to be working very well for me, so that's what I'm doing. Horizon Hobbies, the people who made this, you might have heard of the little yellow one. The people who made this one right here thought that they'd capitalize on Jesse's success in making this FPV, and they thought they would make it their own. See if they can't make one that's tougher for the kids and something like that, which I feel they've done a pretty good job of making this one. This is Horizon Hobbies FPV. It is this. They've upgraded the motors in the original ones to the same motors that you're going to get as a kit with this one to make this one faster. They've mounted the camera in there for you. It's on this nice little body right here. The antenna's protected, and it's got that other antenna that I was talking about, a nice little whip antenna here that it's not going to break or nothing like that. This is tough. I find that it works very well. I painted a few things on it, but I think it flies just fine. It weighs when you're talking about these little things, every little gram counts. So this one weighs a little bit more than this one does. So you're going to get a little more flight time with this one than this one. Now the batteries I'm using, I'm getting 2 minutes and 45 seconds to 3 minutes with this. Upwards of around 3 to 3.5 minutes maybe with this one. So far. The one that gets the most time that I get right now was this mod that I did right here. This one seems to be getting, I'm waiting for a scale, it must be grams worth here, but this one's getting 4 minutes. So I'm pretty impressed with this little mod that I just recently did. So it's doing pretty good. Now you'll find out that these will break. Okay, so when you do get one of these and you're interested and you've gone to tinywhoop.com, you want to get this little kit that has this welder stuff in it. Okay, it comes with this welder stuff in this little bottle, and you just squirt it into this bottle, and this gives you a little finer application there. Do this. This is kind of an important thing for this thing, is you want to put a little dab on all the little cross braces where it connects to the duct itself. It'll hold it together much better. Now, when I was learning, and I did break that before I found out all this stuff, so that's why I'm trying to put this out for you as information, to give it to you all at one time. There's also these products that they have on these things when you're flying them around, and especially if you're going into acro mode or just racing around your house as fast as you can, they have these carbon fiber. And they come as 3D modes, and I don't know who's weighing less. I can't imagine that they're making a 3D plastic thing that weighs less than this. This is a carbon fiber X, and this is pretty tough stuff. I recommend that you get these. These are also pretty cheap, not a real expensive, and they just fit over all 4 of the motor housings on the bottom of it and keeps the brace together. And I've had this for a month now, flying it, crash it. I have not broken anything on it. Now, I'm hearing people break this stuff all the time. Now, all of them except for the very first one I had before I found out these little tricks, I had broken a couple of struts, but I have now fixed it with that welding stuff. I keep a brace on it when I'm going crazy with it, and take it off when I want more flight time. It does add less flight time by putting that on there. I've taken it off and flown them both. You can add a couple minutes either way. I'd rather protect the helicopter that I invested, because, like I said, don't be fooled. This little thing, these things aren't all that cheap, really. You got $70 wrapped up into the Inductress itself, the original one. If you have a controller, then you could get away with $50, and then it's I think $80 for the kit to with the motors and the camera and all that to install it right there. And if you, like me, you didn't have a soldering iron and stuff like that, and then you bought that too. Now we'll go with upgrading these things. The super upgrade that you got to that is the new one that they have out, which is a B-Brain. The B-Brain is a programmable flight control board on the Tiny Whoop. They've taken the original flight control board off, and they've put on this B-Brain. The B-Brain makes it wonderful. It really turned it into a personal aircraft that you feel like you're Ant-Man inside of it, flying it around. It's really, really cool. You actually hook this up to the computer, and you have programs that you program it to do what you want it to do. It's not your run-of-the-mill thing. You're looking at one of these, I think, that was made by Jesse. This particular one was made by Jesse. It was number 25 in the list of the ones that were made for the Spectrum controller. With that being said, now we're going to move over to the controller end of these things. These are the ones that are out there. Now there's other ones out there. There's cheaper versions and stuff like that, and I'm not sure how much cheaper because they're still buying the same kit to turn it over. And I think the frame may be a little better, but the battery doesn't fit, and then you got extra cost to buy a thing. I didn't get into those. I don't care about those. Jesse Perkins made this thing. I'm sticking with TinyWhoop.com. That's the guy I do business with. This is the guy that's helped me out with this stuff, and that's who I'm going to continue to do business with. So unless it's that company is affiliated with Jesse some way or another, I'm not doing business with him. So if you're a guy that's watching this and you aren't doing business with Jesse, I'm not giving you my money. And I'm spending a lot of it, so you might want to think about that. Now to the controllers. Once I had this, of course, that didn't feel right. I wanted a real controller like the controllers that I'm using for my bigger pieces of equipment. I wanted the same feeling I had with these little ones, and these little ones you can hook up with different things. The ones that I wanted to stay with was the original Inductress projects, and they work with Spektrum. So from the original one, I bought the Spektrum DX6i, which was wonderful. It works. It does everything I want it to do. It will hook up to all of them, no problem. It will hook up to the B-Brain. Everything will work just fine. You have a few things you got to change in it, but everything works fine. And it was pretty wonderful and fairly cheap. It wasn't that expensive. As I'm growing with these things, and I wanted to connect up to my other stuff, and I'm recently going to get into some bind and fly planes that Horizon Hobby puts out. So, and I'm also addicted to this stuff. And I thought I wanted something cooler than this, and I recently went out and purchased the DX6. This thing is wonderful. Feels great. It feels nice. But now you're up into a $200 controller. Okay, so everything will work with this. If you want to get up to something, you can get to the 6i, which is a discontinued model now. They've got other ones out there. There's even one cheaper, I think, just the DX, I think, or yeah, I think it's just the DX. And for I think $50, you can get yourself away from this. Okay, and I suggest you get away from this. Everything works better with this. The gimbal's on it. It just feels right. The helicopter, the quadcopter, responds better. If you're gonna upgrade anything here, then upgrade this. Okay, you need this. Okay, whether you want to go ahead and spend a little more right off the bat because you're gonna want to, then you got this. So, like I said before, don't be fooled that this little thing, they're not cheap. One of these together costs around 180, I think, that Jesse puts out. Even the pieces, you're still at, I don't know, I think it was $140 or something like that if you make all of it yourself and buy the pieces and do it. Which brings you to, once you got it together, how do you see what it's flying? This was the one thing as I watched these videos that you'd watch one and you have to go to another one and say, okay, then you go watch an FPV one and see what that is. So I'm going to try to give you the information that I have that on the goggles. You either fly this thing with a monitor that would hook up to the controller or as a freestanding unit or your TV or however you're going to work it out. 5 gigahertz monitor, you can find those probably the same thing. I think I've seen them on Amazon for as low as $30. Probably doesn't work too good, but I don't know. I don't have one, so I'm not bashing anybody's product. Nobody else's product. I don't bash people's products, especially stuff I've never used. But you can get a monitor so it sits in front of you or it goes on a tripod or however you work it. Or you get a goggles. Now you can also there's some goggles out there. I think I've seen some that are $50 or so like that. You'll find out that you want to upgrade. Again, if you're really going to get into this stuff and you're going to, if you can at all, instead of buying something that you may not be happy with, wait a little longer and save your money and buy something you're going to like. I bought the Fat Shark Dominator 3 goggles because as I was watching and learning about this stuff here, especially in the professional races and stuff like that, there ain't nobody walking around without anything that's not a Fat Shark goggle. Maybe a different brand that's as nice as theirs. And I don't remember ever seeing somebody not wearing a Fat Shark goggle. Now, whether the HDs or the old ones, or depending on how old the video was, they have Fat Shark goggles on. That's all I can say about that. I don't know about the other ones. I've never had them on my face. I knew that when I started, I didn't really want that big thing on my face. Some other people are loving them. I've seen their thing. Again, I'm not bashing anybody. I'm just telling you my experience. This was worth the money. When I first got them, I didn't know anything about that. Okay, I had to buy these goggles, and then you find out it doesn't have a receiver to get what you want, and you have to buy receivers for it. The first receiver that I bought was just a multi-race band from Fat Shark, because I figured I would get Fat Shark stuck since that's what I bought. And I bought the Next Wave, which was a multi-band thing that kind of covered everything right there. This is single band polarized antenna feed for this system. After watching some video and seeing my own video and stuff like that, and the interference you have by going through walls or the whole house, you fly it around your house and stuff like that, I wanted to improve the video feed into my goggles. And you probably would want to do that to a monitor too. I don't know the logistics of that part and how you would do that. But for these goggles, they make different brands, two leading edges, LaForge and Furious. They put out these dual band receivers for your FPV. It's both a patch antenna and your Polaroid orbital antenna. One of these is searching a dome around you. One of these is a direct feed out there that's feeding to the quadcopter. The quadcopter. The system is constantly checking between the two of them to give you the absolutely best feed that's happening for you with the interference that's going around. So that's why I moved to these. This is working wonderful for me. I've been told that LaForge is very nice, especially if you're going to be a guy that's a young guy and you're trying to get into the race world over there. I don't think for a second that I can be that guy. At my age, 55, I don't have a hope and prayer of having a hand and eye coordination to beat anybody that's held between the age of 13 and 40. I just don't think that the hand and eye coordination is there for me to try to beat these guys. Now, if we start racing in over 55 league, then I might be into it. But that's me right now. This is the video on the Tiny Whoop. Without me talking anymore, this is the stuff that you need to make this a really fun thing. Now, whether you choose to go with goggles and what goggles you use, or you choose a monitor and you are happy, or your pockets aren't deep and you can use the controller, and this will fly, every one of them. That original $69 will carry you very far with the other things until you save up enough money and do what you want to do to the controller, and you'll find that you want to move up in controller. And then you need some type of way to watch what you're doing. So however you're going to do that, whether it be goggles or that, these are the things with the Tiny Whoop. This is a Tiny Whoop. If you're watching this video, support Tiny Whoop. Join us at facebook.com and you'll learn way more than I could tell you. And those guys have been doing it a long time. Support them. The guy came up with a really good and fun thing for us to do, and I can't show my appreciation more than to spend my money in his store. You're looking at one of the things that are in the drone world, from the best I can tell, is that it's hotter than the Cabbage Patch Kids or Beanie Babies or wherever you're from in the world. Now, I think it seems to me that I've seen some pieces coming up online from different things, and Jesse too. They're getting back into stock and they're getting these things in because there for a little while. You better be on your toes and watching all these places at one time, because this stuff comes and it goes. So, but I've seen there's a few places that are picking up on this stuff. One more thing I wanted to talk about was those batteries before I go. And again, out there right now, the best that I've heard or seen, my lipos that Jesse sells. You're going to come up with the E-Flight that comes with it. They work all right. They're not going to get you as far as those my lipos. You're going to get a little charger that comes with it that will charge them. You'll end up wanting to get another charger, and I'm sorry I didn't bring that board up here and show you that you can plug in 6 of them and charge it through a bigger controller, and that's usually what I do. But there's one thing about this that's really cool, is especially if you're on the move, you got your little box with you, and you got a bunch of batteries with you, and you're flying out there. If you have one of these little portable battery packs for your phone or whatever, you can just go ahead and put this right inside there like that and plug your battery in. Okay, a non-charged battery, you're charging, and you can set that down, continue to fly, and you'll get some charge out of these batteries. So this is pretty cool if you got any of these. So that's pretty neat, and I carry these with me whenever I travel if I'm not with my other stuff. And that's about all. I guess the only other thing to show you is you'll find out that you'll get yourself a little kit, and I bought myself this box from Harbor Freight that you can cut up and has all the foam all in it. My quadcopters all fit right inside there. My little tiny whoops all go in there, along with the controller. Batteries are all in there. I carry those chargers in here when I'm traveling. I carry a few tools up here, and I got extra parts in these pouches up here. This thing's pretty cool. If you're working on them and you're out and about, this little your tools will actually pick up, and you can take that out of this thing and carry all your stuff with you. So that's pretty cool if you're out there in the field. I carry some manuals back behind it and stuff like that. It's a tiny book. I'm Jeff Donaldson, and hopefully if you're watching this, you will find the love for it that I have, and I have tried to give you a little information about what the Tiny Whoops were, and the 4 main ones that are out there: the original, the FPV, the mullet top modification, and the B-Brain. Thank you very much, and if you enjoyed this video, like it, and give me your opinions down at the bottom. Thank you. Bye-bye.